What's up, my Central Unit? It's the Central Man here, so back again with another classic Survivor Series pay-per-view review. So, leading up to the 2025 Survivor Series show, it got me thinking, I'm going to review Survivor Series from 10 years ago, Survivor Series 2015. So, this show was at the Phillips Arena. Right now it's called the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia on the 22nd of November 2015. The attendance of the show was 14,481, and there was no buy rate published, how much the show got on pay-per-view, because at this time it was on the WWE network. The commentators for the show, we got Michael Cole, Jerry the King Lawler, and John Bradshaw Layfield. So this show is memorable. You can call it memorable. Yeah, it is memorable. For one, this show marks the 25th anniversary of the debut of The Undertaker, because he debuted at Survivor Series in 1990. Spoiler alert, this is the night that Roman Reigns win his first of six World Championships in his career. And then, spoiler again, Sheamus win it. We'll get more of that later on. We got self-proclaimed Deadly Games 2.0, because we had a tournament to crown a new WWE champion on the show. We'll get more of that later on. And also, this is the final Survivor Series, like the normal format of Survivor Series, until the following year when WWE decided to bring back the brand split. They end up doing the Raw and SmackDown themed Survivor Series shows between 2016 to 2021. Now we're doing these War Games themed Survivor Series. I don't want to get into that, so yeah, this show is the last normal themed Survivor Series until they end up like I said, the Raw vs SmackDown, brand superior themed Survivor Series shows, and the War Games themed Survivor Series shows. And also, this show was nearly about to be cancelled. There was self-proclaimed the ISIS threat, because at the time ISIS was kind of a thing back then, 10 years ago, because I'm guessing this show took place, must be a week, I think it was like a week after, I think it was after the terrorist attack in Paris. It was in a football match or soccer match between France and Germany, in a friendly. There was like an ISIS attack, and I think the show nearly got cancelled. You had the FBI was investigating, and unfortunately there was no, attack on this show. So I'm guessing this show is about to be cancelled. It's on Wikipedia. It's the ISIS threat, so go and look it up. It says I don't want to get any more in details of it. Something about a hacker group. I don't want to. But the show went ahead, and glad there was no attack from ISIS. It's funny that you had the terrorist attack in Paris that was done by ISIS. I think you had the Belgian attack that was the following year. I think there was an attack in Canada. They got the Manchester attacks in 2017. Go and look it up. So yeah, it was kind of thing ISIS, a scary thing. So anyway, so let's So before we get to the actual pre-show match and the matches on the show, how we get there, why they're doing a tournament to crown a new WWE champion. So, I'm gonna keep it brief. In the spring of 2014, Seth Rollins turned on his fellow Shield brothers, Shield brothers or teammates. They're not really brothers, but teammates. Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, to align himself be part of the Authority. He's basically the golden goose, the gem of the group. And then that summer went on to win the Money in the Bank. At WrestleMania 31, Seth Rollins cashing his Money in the Bank briefcase during the main event of WrestleMania 31 in the match between Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. He went on to win that match become the WWE champion for the first time. He held that belt until nearly at the end of the year. So Roman Reigns won a fatal 4-way match to get a shot at the WWE champion, or the WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. Like I said, this is you can say it's the final first like brand exclusive Survivor Series, because like I said, they're going to bring back the brand split the following year. So anyway, Reigns won a fatal 4-way. It was on Raw to get a shot at Seth Rollins for the championship at Survivor Series, because the original main event was supposed to be Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. They were supposed to have that match at, I think it was at Night of Champions the previous year in September, but unfortunately Roman Reigns suffered a hernia, so that match was cancelled. So yeah, unfortunately they're trying to do it at Survivor Series, but unfortunately that was cancelled due to Seth Rollins' injury, because the company was on tour in the UK and Ireland. Seth was in the match against Kane. You can see a footage of that match. I think Rollins was going to put Kane through the table, try to powerbomb him through the table, but instead his knee kind of gave out. It's so, oh my god, it looks dislocated. I don't want to get into that. So he injured his I think he injured ligaments in his knees, like I think it was his ACL, meniscus, something like that. He ended up injured his knee years later, nearly like 9 years later in 2024. But I don't think that was serious than the one in 2015. So Seth Rollins vacated the WWE Championship, or the WWE World Heavyweight Championship it was called at the time. So WWE decided to do a 16-man tournament to crown a new WWE champion at Survivor Series. So, by the way, I think it was the first time they did a tournament to crown a new WWE champion since 2011, since when CM Punk beat John Cena at Money in the Bank 2011 in his hometown of Chicago. Then he left, and for a little bit, and then they decided to do a tournament to crown a new WWE. Trying to get my words out. A new WWE champion that was won by Rey Mysterio, and that's just to set it up and then I'm not going to get into that. So yeah, they did a 16-man tournament that was on Raw and SmackDown throughout the early months of November. So the semi-finalists of this tournament, we got Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, Kevin Owens, and the returning of Alberto Del Rio. We'll get to more of that of him later on. So they are the final four in this tournament to crown a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So anyway, let's get to the pre-show match before we get to the actual matches on the show. So the only pre-show match on this show, we got the first of two 5-on-5 traditional Survivor Series elimination match. It's really I'm not lying, they end up doing these type of matches going into that Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series shows, But anyway, so in the pre-show match, yeah, like I said, we've got the 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match. We've got the Dudleys, Bubba Ray and Devon, teaming up with Goldust, Neville, and Titus O'Neil. Because at the time, I think Darren Young got injured, so you can tell, they're going to slightly push Titus O'Neil. I don't want to get into that in this video. So anyway, taking on Bo Dallas, The Miz, and the Cosmic Wasteland. That's the team of Stardust, aka right now he's the current WWE champion, Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, and the Ascension. That's the team of Connor and Victor. So this match, shocking to me, it lasted about 18 minutes. 18 minutes, wow, holy crap. But I did not care. I don't think it was on, these Survivor Series matches over the years. Survivor Series matches could be hit or miss. I think there's the massive flaw of some Survivor Series matches since they've been doing Survivor Series shows since 1987. Some of these matches, there's no stake. This match is basically a Survivor Series match for the sake of a Survivor Series match. This is I think that's one of the reasons why fans want to get rid of Survivor Series. I think the concept has completely run its course. Anyway, so I'm gonna get to the eliminations first. The Dudleys eliminate the Ascension first, I think. Not Ascension. Who got No, Goldust eliminate Victor with the what's it called, the snapshot power slam. Then Bubba Ray eliminate Connor with the I think it was some kind of slam for the elimination. And then Neville got eliminated by The Miz and Bo Dallas. You know, before that, Neville did, because at the time Neville is right now is packing AEW, part of the Death Riders, but Neville at the time, he was doing this superhero gimmick, you know, not like on the same level as the Hurricane, but he came out wearing the cape. To be fair, he looks like a superhero. He's got really a good physique, you know, Neville. But anyway, so Neville did like I think he does that, not a suicide dive, but that what was it, the shooting star press off the top rope, something like that, onto the heel Survivor Series team. But he got eliminated by Bo Dallas and The Miz. You know, Bo Dallas hit the Bulldog. The Miz hit Neville with the Skull Crusher finale for the elimination. I think they were doing a storyline between Neville and The Miz, like something like that. That went nowhere. So yeah, I was like, why? You know, I don't know, Neville. I don't want to get into that. You know, it's funny in hindsight. You know, in late 2016, he ended up like having his career revival, becoming, you know, the king of the cruiserweights, becoming the cruiserweight champion. That's another story for another time. So The Miz got eliminated by Goldust with a schoolboy roll-up. Bo Dallas by Titus O'Neil with the Clash of the Titans. And I think Stardust, Cody Rhodes, you know, it's funny why they like still doing the Stardust gimmick, you know, because, you know, it's bad. I think it was probably a bad year for Cody because he just lost his dad, Dusty Rhodes. That was in the summer of 2015, you know, and all of a sudden he's still doing the Stardust gimmick, you know. Anyway, so yeah, no, it's funny, like in his run in ROH, and I think in his match against AJ Styles, he kind of referencing Stardust, you know, he does that cartwheel and that hand gesture he does. But anyway, he got eliminated by the Dudleys, so the babyface team won this match. Like I said, I did not really give a fuck about it. Not fuck, but I just don't really care, not interested. It was just kind of like fast eliminations. It's about 18 minutes. It was like not boring, but it's just kind of meh, not really exciting. So yeah, I feel like Neville was the only babyface team to get eliminated. I feel like it's a shame. I feel like they're trying to plan to build Neville down the road, and suddenly he got injured. Then, you know, like I said, he ended up with part of the cruiserweight division, and the rest is history. And that gimmick in that cruiserweight division will carry on his run in Dragon Gate and then in AEW. So anyway, so let's move on to the main show. So the first match of the main show, we got the first semi-final match of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. We got Roman Reigns taking on, at the time, the United States Champion Alberto Del Rio with Seb Coulter in his corner. So why Del Rio came back? So here's the reason. Like I said, Del Rio came back in October. Here's the short story. So the previous year, Alberto Del Rio got fired from the company. He got released because he got in a physical altercation with a backstage staff, and then that staff member made a racist joke. I don't want to get into that. Probably look it up somewhere on the internet. So anyway, Del Rio went back, ended up kind of reinventing himself on the indie scene. And also in Mexico, I think, did he have to run in ROH? Did he have to run in Lucha Underground? I think he had to run in Lucha Underground. Maybe, remember when he was in 2017, 2018 period, but he had to run in, had to run the indies. He came back in October of 2015 at Hell in a Cell the previous month. I think he accepted John Cena's open challenge, because at the time John Cena was doing the United States Championship Challenge, trying to put that prestige back into the title. So Del Rio accepted the challenge with Seb Coulter, because they had a history going back to Del Rio's feud with Jack Swagger in the in the spring of 2013. So anyway, so Del Rio introduced his new, I think he had a tattoo around his lat. Like Del Rio was in good shape. I think he's always in good shape, still in good shape. It's funny, like he's back in the company. I don't think he made any appearances. I think he was just part of the Triple Eight product. I don't think he will come back to the product. I don't know. I don't think he'll go back to the product. I think he'll end up coming back on WWE programming. I think it'll be bad for business. I don't want to get into that. But anyway, so Del Rio introduced a new finisher. That is that trio blow, double stump in the corner. He beat that on John Cena to win the United States title for the first time. And then this is leading up to Del Rio and Seb Coulter doing this whole Mex-American shit or Mex-America stuff. I don't want to get into that. That was a crappy gimmick. He had the flag, one half with the Mexican flag and the other half with the American flag. It's just like, nah. I don't think it got over it. It's totally because Del Rio he's not really American. He's from Mexico. He's actually born and bred in Mexico. Yeah, he probably got an American citizenship, but it just never worked. It's all against the history between Del Rio and Seb Coulter. Seb Coulter is Dutch Mantel. Anyway, the match itself was really good. This was a really good opener to kick off this match. It was a good back and forth between Del Rio and Reigns. Like he kind of work on the arm of Reigns. Like if you watch a Del Rio match, in his first and even his second run in the company, even his run in TNA / Impact Wrestling or GFW, had that brief moment. He ended up setting his opponent up, working on the arm to set up the cross arm breaker. It was a good back and forth. Roman does that typical one arm power bomb, one arm sit down power bomb. Del Rio, I think he was about to do that double stomp, but instead Reigns got out of the way. He did manage to lock in the cross arm breaker, I think in with Superman punch. He kind of locked in the cross arm breaker. I think Roman fight it out. He kind of did the cross arm breaker on the ropes. He was leaning on the edge of the ropes and the ring apron, but I think Reigns, he managed to get out it, hit the spear to win this match and advance into the final of this tournament in the main event. And it was about 14 minutes. I feel like with Del Rio, he could, with something about Del Rio, he can have some good matches, but at the same time, he can have some, like Del Rio do put, I feel like with Del Rio's matches, sometimes Del Rio, sometimes I'm trying to say, Del Rio, sometimes he put on some good matches, sometimes some so-and-so matches. This was really good. That's the problem with Del Rio. His push in his first run. I think they pushed him far too soon. I don't want to keep beating the dead horse of it. So anyway, I think it's the first time. I think it's the first one-on-one match between Reigns and Del Rio. They never really had a match. It's really funny. They're kind of separate away because Del Rio was kind of feuding with Sheamus, feuding with Orton, feuding with Big Show, was the world champion. And Reigns was basically doing the whole part of the Shield, and then once Reigns branched out of his own, Del Rio got released. So it was for their first match. I think it was a really good match to kick off the show. So I thought the second semi-final match, I thought it would be later on the show, but instead it was straight after this match. So the next match we got the other semi-final match of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. Dean Ambrose taking on Kevin Owens, who at the time he was the Intercontinental Champion. This was a kicked off a rivalry between Ambrose and Kevin Owens. Get more of that later on. So I like this match. I feel like those two matches really was the highlight point of the show. I guess my overall rating of the show at the end. Anyway, so every time Dean was trying to strike a rhythm, going for momentum of this match, Kevin Owens kind of cut him off a little bit. I think he hit with I think it was a Argentinian net breaker. Was it a spinning Argentina like backbreaker, something like that? Yeah, I think he hit like Dean with the fisherman suplex off the top rope. Anyway, he was kind of like taunting. Yeah, he was kind of like taunting. Like yeah, he was taunting like, "Is this your boy? Is this your man? I'm the man. I'm gonna be the champion," something like that, Like, I like him. I think he's kind of like a trash talker. Say, "Are you giving up? Are you giving up? I'm the man, I'm gonna be the champion, And then, it's funny, he grabbed him in I think it was a headlock, a chin lock, he said yes. I kind of like this charisma of Kevin Owens. I think he has charisma. He's a good trash talker. Anyway, so Kevin Owens going for the Dean does that traditional like that clothesline in the middle rope. That was good. That was really good. I don't think he does that anymore. Right now Dean Ambrose is currently now John Moxley in AEW, the leader of the Death Riders. I don't think he does that. He does that clothesline off the middle rope. It's kind of cool. That's kind of good. So in the end, Owens was going for the pop-up powerbomb, but instead Dean Ambrose hit the dirty deeds to win this match. For Kevin Owens, in his like first few months on the main roster, he's been there for like a year at the time because he came from NXT, turned on his best friend Sami Zayn, put him, and then he ended up winning the start of the year. He was NXT champion. And then all of a sudden, like, he was in a program. His first main roster program was against John Cena. He won his. I think he won his first main roster pay-per-view match against John Cena. He ended up losing the feud with Cena, and then he ended up beating Ryback for the IC title. I think he was, he also had a feud with Cesaro. I've never had a feud with Cesaro, but yeah, Cesaro got injured. It's a shame. I feel like both are ex-ROH guys. It's a shame. Like, this is the start of their rivalry between Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose, because I think Dean beats I think it was the following month at TLC that Dean become the IC champion, and then and then I think they end up like trade back and forth with the IC title going into the spring of 2016, But yeah, it was you could say it's the because he beat Ryback for the title, and then he ended up feuding with Dean Ambrose. And then I think he ended up he was in that because he was in the ladder match at WrestleMania 32 for the IC title, because Dean was kind of feuding with Brock, But that's another story for another time. So the two semi-final matches of this tournament was good. Reigns versus Del Rio and Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens. So the next match, this is the second of two 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match, because the first one was on the pre-show. This one's on the main show. We've got the Usos and the Lucha Dragons and Ryback taking on the New Day, King Barrett and Sheamus. By the way, for King Barrett, Wade Barrett, because they did because Raw did a show in the UK. I think it was like in Manchester. He was picking the fight with Wayne Rooney. If you're not from the UK, or if you're not a fan of football/soccer, Wayne Rooney is a soccer player. You kind of you got Sheamus and Barrett kind of confront Wayne Rooney, and Rooney, I think he slapped him or punched him in the face, because I think Rooney, I think he was a boxer. He does his celebration with the boxing punches, so that was kind of funny. Anyway, so with Xavier Woods, because at the time the New Day was over as heels. That's Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and Biggie Langston, or Big E. I just call him Biggie Langston. So, I never knew this. This is in Xavier Woods was the hometown boy. He's from Columbus, Georgia. But this is in Atlanta. So instead of like embracing, his hometown, he's basically bashing the sports teams off his hometown. He said like, I know I'm from here. I don't like these teams. Oh, I don't support these teams. These jokes are corny, man. so corny. So anyway, so like I feel like with Big E called the Lucha Dragons, the Lucha Bullies, they're gonna celebrate Thanksgiving on on the children's table. It's basically their short because they're short reference joke. I mean, even though they're similar in height, the jokes are so corny. So and also he called these ouch, referring to the Usos. They spend most of the year, putting in the doctors, putting on Hello Kitty's band-aids, Hello Kitty band-aids on their boo-boos, and with Ryback, he can't get it once. And I think Xavier Woods says like, he can't grow his hair, he's bald, that's always why he's bald. The jokes are so corny. Xavier Woods for me, I thought it was Elvis Presley. He kind of straightened his hair. It's kind of weird, I found out it's referencing Malcolm X, even though go look it up, I think he had straight long hair. I think it was before he went to jail. Go look it up, I don't want to get into that, but it's funny he allowed to did that, on a PG product, Sheamus cut one of the crappiest joke. Not a joke, he said like, let's get jiggy from the, what is it, it says like, let's get jiggy for these posers. It's something like that. It's so corny, man. And I think the fans slightly, like Barrett and the New Day, they just like don't get it. They just didn't laugh at Sheamus' joke, because the Sheamus at the time was Mr. Money in the Bank, Wade Barrett or King Barrett, because he won the King of the Ring early in the year. But it says I think it's called Let's Get Jiggy on these poses, man. It's so stupid. Your fans were trying you look stupid, because they can't play it. Sheamus looks stupid, man. Because Sheamus is self-proclaimed. He's Mr. Money in the Bank holder. He's potentially going to be the potential world champion. By the way, Sheamus won the briefcase at Money in the Bank in June. I did a tier list video ranking the Money in the Bank holders, the men's Money in the Bank holders, best of worst. Sheamus is the worst. I'll get to more of that later on. But anyway, let's get through this match. This match, the crowd do not care, man. Like the New Day was doing. That's why I just do not like the New Day. Like they end up doing the twerk. Kofi doing the spanking his ass. I don't like what the merchandise with the New Day members, with the unicorn. That's the reason why fans, I think some people like the New Day, but for me, I just never get, I don't know. I found this stuff a bit corny, and this is why I just do not like, Big E's title reign and Kofi's title reign. It's just basically unless they go back to their own gimmicks before the New Day stuff, I'll be okay with it. But once they win the New Day stuff, it's just completely, I don't want to get into that. So if you like it, more power to you. So, and then King Barrett's joining in. He is also spanking his ass and twerking. They're like, Xavier Woods doing the trombone, and then do the whole New Day Rocks. But it's so corny. Seeing like 3 grown-ass men doing twerking and with their ass. Anyway, so let's get down to the eliminations. King Baron was the first one eliminated by Sin Cara. Sin Cara did like the springboard swanton bomb or springboard senton to eliminate him first, and then Jimmy Uso got eliminated by Xavier Woods, the hometown boy, because the show, like I said, is in Atlanta, Georgia. I think him and Kofi did like I think it's a double stump backbreaker to eliminate Jimmy Uso, and then Sin Cara got eliminated by Sheamus. Sheamus did the bro kick. You could tell there was a little bit of tension between the New Day members and Sheamus. first like Sheamus's joke before the actual match, and then I don't know, they're not on the right page. You know, yeah, Sheamus eliminated Sin Cara, and then all of a sudden Big E got eliminated by Jey Uso with the splash, and then Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, left. The crowd did not care, man. They did chant New Day rocks, but a little bit, but you can tell the crowd, I think the crowd was dead throughout the whole show, man. They did cheer a little bit, like in, I'll get more of Roman Reigns a little bit later on, They kind of like react to Roman Reigns, but I feel like it's just a very dead crowd. Anyway, so in the end, the babyfaces. Also before that, like the Usos, the Lucha Dragons did their like splashes off the top rope. Over the heels, and I think Ryback did a splash off the top rope of his own, even though Ryback's not high flying, a powerhouse. But that was kind of like a good spot. Besides that, it was a bit forgettable. In the end, you had Fritz Kalisto and Jey Uso. Even though in our current timeline, you end up becoming a world champion, a decade later, but, some people don't like Jey Uso, they won't get into that, never story another time, but anyway, so, Jey and Kalisto did I think it was a super kick Hurricanrana combo, and Ryback hit Sheamus with the shell shock for the win. Wow, they made Sheamus look shit, man. Like Sheamus is Mr. Money in the Bank holder, and, potentially being the next WWE World Champion. He just got squashed, and I think that's one of the reasons why I put Sheamus in as the worst Money in the Bank holder of all time. I'll get to the main event shortly. So yeah, after the two semi-final matches of the show, you can tell the show went absolutely downhill. So the next match, this is the first of two championship matches on the show, because the other one is, it's in the finals to crown a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, or three, but anyway, this is for the Divas Championship. Charlotte, right now Charlotte Flair, but at the time she was not referred to Charlotte, defending the belt against Paige, aka Saraya. So, Paige won a number one contenders match. I check on the event. The storyline. I don't really quite storyline on the Wikipedia page. Paige won a. Yeah, it says Paige won a battle. This is revolved around Reed. I'll get some more shortly. So anyway, Paige won. Paige defeat Becky Lynch and Brie Bella and Sasha Banks. Paige won a fatal four-way match to get a shot at Charlotte Flair or Charlotte at the Divas title at Survivor Series, and then she was part of this group with her, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, PTC, and then she turned on them, and then the lead up to this, I think Paige did a remark towards Charlotte's late brother Reed, because I think Reed died. I think commit suicide, that was, I don't want to get into that, it's, that really, it's just I don't know, man, it's a way to get some heat for Paige, referencing, Charlotte's brother Reed, who, passed away, Reed, passed, I think he committed suicide. Did he commit suicide? He found dead, he died of a drug overdose, I think that's a bit tasteless, why they did that, don't want to get into that. Go and look it up, man. But anyway, so the match itself was boring, just boring. For on paper, I thought this was going to be a good match. Paige is a good worker, Charlotte's a good athlete, but I don't think there's any chemistry between Paige and Charlotte. It's just what it is, man. Paige for the whole of 2015 was chasing over the Divas title when she was, feuding with the Bellas, Nikki and Brie. Anyway, but I'm trying to keep it short and simple. You know, the fans slightly boo Charlotte and cheer for Paige. I think Paige, Saraya, man. I think, I don't think Paige never worked as a heel, like in her run in WWE and also her run in AEW. You know, I think she's more natural as a babyface. You know, very forgettable. Like, I like the Raw moment, like Charlotte was going for the figure four leg lock. You know, Paige like trying to counter it. That was kind of cool. Like I said, very fucking forgettable. Like Paige was on the barricade, taunting. You know, she does that shout, "This is my house," and then I think Charlotte did like the spear off the barricade onto Paige. You know, this was outside of the ring, by the way. So I'm trying to keep it short and simple. So in the end, Charlotte like made Paige tap out with the she hit her with the natural cessation. Before that, she did like it's similar to Stephanie Falqueira's Devil Kiss, or Kiss of the Devil, whatever it's called. She did it on Paige, or, you know, like ramming her head on the ring, on the canvas, you know. Anyway, she did like hit Paige with the the execution spot onto the ring apron. Both similar in height, you know, but I think like, you know, Charlotte's 5'10", Paige is 5'8". You know, I think she's a good-looking woman. I feel like Paige is still a good-looking woman. Like, you know, I think her gimmick is something new because she's a goth. You know, she's goth. You know, I think she's like I think the reason I put Paige is like best female wrestler of 2015 or WWE wrestler of 2015. People say Nikki Bella. You know, you kidding me? I don't want to get into that, but anyway, so Charlotte locking the figure eight onto Paige. Paige tapped out and Charlotte retains, and they end up having a rematch at TLC. Charlotte win that, and that was the end. That was the beginning of the end of Paige's push. You know, like they had a match on Raw. I think that was in squad. I think like Dana Brooke got involved. This was at the time the roles has been reversed. That was in the summer of 2016, before Paige got hurt, and then it's a shame. You know, like, her run is the beginning of the end. You know, she ended up like the stuff with her, was it the sex? You know, the sex. I think it was the sex tape was leaked, and then I think she was a bit frustrated about creative for the company, and then the stuff with Del Rio. That, you know, that was, you know, there was teasing like Paige was she wants to quit WWE, but she came back in late 2017 and the other parts of 2018. You know, that I think it was a house show match. You know, Sasha Banks kicked her in the back. That re-aggravated her injury, and then that made her not to wrestle for 4 years. It's funny, like, Saraya really got some closure 4 years later in AEW. Even though like her heel run in AEW was disappointing. You know, the Outcast with Tony Storm and Ruby Soho. You know, but she got that closure because of her career kind of ended in an anticlimactic way. So it got me thinking, why is Paige, you know, stay healthy? I said it in my review of Money in the Bank 2014. I'm gonna say it right now. What if you know, Paige has stay healthy, stay injury free, just basically gun it out, pull up all the shit until the light on the other side of the tunnel, when Vince McMahon is no longer an issue. It's got me thinking how Paige is going to fit in today's WWE. You know, guys like Rhea Ripley and Io Sky and Stephanie Falqueira, Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan. List goes on and on. You know, how is she going to fit that? You know, but you know, I think she might come back. You know, she's only 33. It's really funny. You know, back then she was in her 20s, but back then she is only 33. She's still young. You know, never say never. So. Anyway, let's keep it short and simple for this next match. So the next match, we've got Dolph Ziggler taking on Tyler Breeze with Summer Rae in her corner. Because, you know, Tyler Breeze, you know, made his debut on the main roster. I think it was on SmackDown. On SmackDown, you know, I think it was a segment on Miz TV. And attacked Dolph Ziggler, you know, attacked him. I think he hit, attacked Dolph with the, made his debut, attacked Dolph. I think he attacked him with the selfie stick, you know. And then for weeks now, he kind of strapped Ziggler during his match with Kevin Owens, and then Breeze defeats, and also, like, I think it's funny that, I think Breeze lost to John Cena in that United States title tournament, so, that lead up to this match on the show. I try to keep it short and simple. It's funny, like, in 2019, this was still in his first run in the company. He ended up, like, opening a wrestling school with Sean Spears, aka Ty Dillinger. So, anyway, the match is just meh. I'm not keen on it. Ziggler, people compare this to Chris Jericho's feud with Fandango. I have no problem with this guy. What's his name? Matt Clement. That's Tyler Breeze's real name. I find his gimmick so girly, and this is why I've just found he's not really. I think it's just a bad gimmick, and at the same time, I think it's just it's just one of his own. I think it's just like he's not championship material. They're trying to push him in NXT. I don't want to get into that. So, in the end, Tyler Breeze got the victory. Hit Dolph Ziggler with the Unprettier for the win. And then, I think he ended up losing to Cena. Did he lose to Cena? It says he ended up losing to Zack Ryder, and then someone in the Wrestling Observer newsletter says, Zack Ryder defeat Tyler Breeze by pinfall. Yes, you can read that correctly. Breeze is a decent into jobber. Hell, Continue Boy does a season finale of Breaking Ground. Anyway, so I don't know. That was a show back in the time. He was a jobber, and then it's funny they end up teaming up with Fandango. Both gimmicks are so dumb. I don't want to get into that. So there's two things they should do. One, put it on the main show, actually put it on the pre-show, and two, I'd rather just cut this match off. I feel like it's a match you probably see on Raw and SmackDown, because at the time there was no brand split. It's just like just killing time. So Ziggler was. It's funny, like guys like in a certain time period, you got guys like the Usos and Ziggler. They just basically was getting stale. Just getting stale. When Breeze being Ziggler, he didn't do nothing. I think he ended up losing the rematch to Ziggler. So he was kind of like jobbing out. I just never liked the gimmick, man. It's just too girly. Anyway, so moving on to the next the next match. So the next match, we've got the brothers. Actually, we've got the Wyatt family taking on the Brothers of Destruction, The Undertaker and Kane. So because Undertaker came back, in the spring of 2015 at WrestleMania 31. This was after he lost to Brock. When Brock ended the streak of The Undertaker, his WrestleMania streak. So he came back, accepted Bray Wyatt's challenge, beat Bray Wyatt, and then after that, Undertaker came off this feud with Brock Lesnar. They had a match at SummerSlam. They had the Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell. And then, you had the Wyatt family beating down The Undertaker, kidnapped them, and he did the same to Kane. So they kind of challenged the Wyatts to a match at Survivor Series, The other two Wyatts competing in this match is Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. So I like the footage of The Undertaker in the Titantron of the different versions of The Undertaker, when he debuted with the grey gloves, then the purple gloves, that was in the New Gem era, and then he was the Gothic Undertaker, the All Black Taker, and then he was the Ministry of Darkness Undertaker, the American Badass Taker, and the Deadman Undertaker. It's really good. It's paying homage of his debut. It's kind of cool. I think Undertaker is the only one with some star power, with some top billing. He's only the main top star on this show. I'll get to more. I think the show is lacking star power. I'll get to more of that in the end. So the match itself, it was good, but it's not going to be an all-star classic. It was a fun match. It's a spectacle because of the 25. This is the 25th anniversary of The Undertaker's debut. Undertaker's hair, man, I don't think he grew back the same. He cut his hair in the preparation of his match against Triple H, and then years later he ended up growing his hair back, you know, it just never grew back the same. But anyway, so before the start of the match, you know, Taker and Kane basically double choke slam Eric Rowan. Yeah, they're like the two Wyatts compete in this match against the Undertaker and Kane. It's their first time they tag along in years, you know. Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt, you know, it's really sad, you know, both of them are no longer with us, rest in peace. But anyway, so Undertaker really kind of made this match good, you know. I think Kane kind of paced this match down, you know. I think like both guys were past their best, you know. Undertaker's kind of past his best. Kane is way past his best, man, you know. But anyway, he kind of like hit Harper with the old school. The fans were chanting, "You still got it," you know. I think he's the most over guy on the show. Anyway, so yeah, they kind of like double choke slam Braun Strowman because Strowman made his debut in the summer. This was during the feud with Bray Wyatt's feud with Roman Reigns. You know, he did kind of choked him out with that submission hold. He ended up stopped doing it when this was 1 year later when Strowman was branching out on his own, doing his own stuff. But anyway, Taker and Kane, I think he double choke slam Braun Strowman. Before that, he kind of threw Kane over the top. I think he not over the top rope, kind of throw him over the outstairs, and Strowman was taunting towards the Undertaker. You know, it's a shame we never got that match. You know, Taker versus Strowman. You know, the next interaction, I think he like was the Royal Rumble in 2017, and then he chokeslammed him on Raw. This is the build up to Undertaker's feud with Reigns at WrestleMania 33. So anyway, so you know, Bray did the spider walk, and then Kane and Taker did that sit up. Get up, that sit up they do. Anyway, did the double choke slam onto both. I think it was on Kane and Bray Wyatt. Not Kane and Bray Wyatt. No, Bray and Luke Harper. Sorry, my bad. So anyway, so Undertaker did the Tombstone Power Driver onto Luke Harper to win this match. You know, I'd rather have Bray getting the win because he lost to Undertaker. It'd be bad if he end up losing to the Undertaker twice, you know, at WrestleMania and Survivor Series, the two biggest shows, you know, 2 out of the big 4 pay-per-views of the year, or big 5 who got Money in the Bank. But yeah, it was a good match. I think it's a 3-star match. You know, it's not be a spectacle. It's not going to be an instant classic. You know, it was fun. It was 10 minutes. I think they made the most out of 10 minutes. So you won't see Undertaker again until feuding with Shane McMahon. That's another story for another time. Moving on to the main event. The main event, this is the finals of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose. The two former members of the Shield collided, you know, because it's the first time, I think it's the first and the only time they face one-on-one. Did they face in that Fatal 4? I think they did face in that Fatal 4-way match. But I'm talking about on the one-on-one side, they never fought, you know. Like, it's funny the next time they're going to do that, you know, it will be the Shield Triple Threat match at Battleground the following year. So, the match was good, but it was a bit rushed. I think it's the weaker out of the other two tournament matches on the show, you know. Reigns, Del Rio, Kevin Owens, Ambrose, but I think they made the most out of 9 minutes. You know, I think they were kind of booing Roman. I think Roman did got that mixed reaction in his match against Del Rio. They chanted for Roman Reigns for a bit, and then after that they were chanting Roman sucks, or they'll do the Let's Go Roman sucks chants, even a little bit quietly. But like I said, I think the crowd was a bit spoiled. I think you can tell they're not interested about the whole show. It was a bit cold, you know. But anyway, so they were chanting "Roman sucks, Roman sucks," you know, same rhythm of the New Day Rocks chant. Anyway, so it was a good back and forth. The made the most what it is. Dean was, you can tell like he's not wearing the shirts, you know. I think like Dean, John Moxley, whatever you call him, I think he improved his physique. I think he kind of improved his physique, you know, a decade later. I think the problem with Ambrose, Moxley's physique is a bit average, bang average. It looks like he's skinny fat, you know. Sometimes I feel like he's got a bit of a dad's bod. Sometimes. Anyway, he did like that typical suicide dive. Yeah, Roman did like the Superman punch up the top rope. Like Dean was going for the move of the top rope. Reigns countered with the Superman punch. Kicked out of Reigns' spear. Dean hit Reigns with the clothesline. He did the clothesline. He did like some similar clothesline. He did like clothesline from the middle rope onto Reigns. I think that was a near fall, and then he hit Reigns with the Dirty Deeds for that near fall. So anyway, he was going for like that charge in the corner, but Reigns countered it into the spear for the win. But besides that, man, it was a good match. And Roman Reigns winning the title for the first time, first of six. He win another 3 going into 2016. He went 3. Then he went out. He was Universal Champion in 2018. Faked it due to leukemia. Then he won it again 2 years later in 2020 when he was turning heel, becoming the Tribal Chief. Then he unified the belts with Brock. So yeah, first of 6. Dean, I thought fans want to see Dean. I think like to win the title or basically turn on Roman, but unfortunately that's not the case. I think you need some top. You need a top. I think the product is so depleted, with the injuries. I'll get into my overall rating about this show, but yeah. So Dean will get his dues. He went on to win his first world title the following year in 2016. He became like the main guy on SmackDown during the second brand split. So he had the confetti out. Triple H came in out. He kind of like appeared on the show watching the matches, backstage. So Triple H came out, raised Reigns' arm in victory. He wants Reigns to shake his hand, but instead Reigns had none of it, hit Triple H with a spear. It's just setting up Reigns and Triple H, the match at WrestleMania 32. But then out comes Sheamus. Sheamus hits Reigns with the bro kick. He cashing his briefcase, trying to pin Reigns. Reigns kicked out. I think he was going for the spear, but instead Sheamus hit the the second bro kick to win this match and win the WWE Championship for the 3rd time. And it makes him a 4-time world champion because he was, 3-time WWE champion, 1-time world heavyweight champion, the original big gold belt. Yeah, I think that was a big mistake, for Sheamus, have him winning the briefcase and also winning the world title. I'd rather have Reigns just like retain the title on the show. So it's just setting up the TLC match at TLC, and then I think Reigns went on to win the title for the 2nd time. I think it was the Raw after TLC or weeks later. Sheamus never got a shot at the title ever again. This is his 4th, and this is I think this is his 4th and final world title. His 4th and final world title in his career. I don't think he's going to win another one ever again. I think Sheamus is starting to wind his career down, but yeah, they really booked him like they booked his, like Sheamus. I don't mind Sheamus as a heel. Yeah, he came back in the spring of 2015. I think the Raw after WrestleMania 31. He ended up before he's saving Daniel Bryan from that beatdown by King Barrett, Bad News Barrett. This is before he became King of the Ring. He turned on Daniel Bryan. He ended up changing his image. He ended up because I think he done everything he could as a babyface. He's now back as a heel. He ended up changing his looks. He had the mohawk. He braided his beard, and he ended up had a nose ring on his nose. I think it's a bad idea. I think it was stupid. That's the reason why fans chanted, "You look stupid." It's just he ended up going back to his old look when he first debuted in the company. Before the heel turn in 2015. So yeah, it was a very dark period, and I think that's the reason why Sheamus is the worst Money in the Bank holder. I don't mind winning the Money in the Bank briefcase, but instead he ended up losing matches. I think he ended up losing matches against Orton. He probably has some wins on Raw, but it's just wow. I don't want to get more in details. I think he's a good worker, Sheamus, but I think at the same time, in the Ultimate Timeline, if they booked him correctly, I think he'd be good. I think he could probably have a good solid run as another solid world title run. I feel like Del Rio. I think Sheamus' push was so forced. You know, stuck with the fluke win over John Cena in 2009. You know, he didn't really put him through the table, and squashing Daniel Bryan in 18 seconds at Mania 28. Even though his last one, I think the people are just getting sick of Sheamus in the world title scene. I think we've already seen it. I think that's the fan. I think it's just like not a good way to end the show. So yeah, even though like Reigns went on to be, I feel like it didn't hurt Reigns. He ended up becoming that star right now. They're still in the company to this day, both Sheamus and Reigns. But yeah, I think it's just like it was just an exhausted. It was very exhausted way to end the show. So, my overall rating of Survivor Series 2015, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Just a lackluster, disappointed Survivor Series show. Yeah, mixed bag, but leaning towards the negative than the positive. I'm going to get the positive out of the way first. I put in the pro. I put Reigns versus Del Rio, Ambrose versus Kevin Owens, Reigns versus Ambrose, and the tag team match between Undertaker and Kane taking on Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. Even though it's not really a spectacle, it is a spectacle, but it was a fun 10-minute match. But man, there's a lot of negative, man. Like, I think the two 5-on-5 Survivor Series matches, lackluster, not interested, very crap, very cold, not say bad matches, but just basically just not really interested. Charlotte versus Paige, boring, and Sheamus cashing his Money in the Bank briefcase and beat Roman Reigns for the championship is not necessarily needed. I really just, like I said, I'd rather have Reigns beat Sheamus and that was it. I think that's the reason why I put Sheamus. Yeah, that's the reason I put him in the worst category in my tier list of my Money in the Bank ranking live stream. So, and also this is like lack of star power of this show. The only big main star on this show is The Undertaker, because there's no Cena. I think he was taking time off and then he ended up getting injured in the start of the next year. Orton is injured, Seth Rollins was injured, Brock wasn't booked on the show, and there's no Jericho. It's a really shame there's no Chris Jericho on the show. Not on the show, but in this tournament, because the only person who's been and done it and become WWE champion in the past in this tournament was Del Rio. This tournament is just setting up to put the belt on Reigns. It's it's just whatever. It got me thinking, like, it, if Rollins never got hurt, stay healthy, would he beat Reigns on this show, or Reigns beat Rollins to be the champion, or they'll probably set up Reigns Rollins for the WrestleMania 32 in Texas. We don't know. So yeah, this is a match I'd rather skip, man. It's just I call it boring, but it's just really bang average to watch. So, what's your thoughts on Survivor Series 2015? Please leave your thoughts on the comment section below, smash the like button, click the like, click the bell, subscribe to the Central Man Network on YouTube, be part of the Central Unit for more wrestling videos and more, and this is the Central Man officially signing out. Check you later, folks.